So there was this period. It was I was, I think, 13 months before I got arrested. There was just this big long period of time. What was like being in the
Oh,
community? What were you talking about? What was like
Yeah.
the
people were definitely, I would say on those walking trails, people were definitely more heightened. And there was like we were all sort of like interested and like, I'd say our heads were on a swivel, I'd say, as we were walking those trails. Cause just the fact that she wasn't found was the part that people were just like, I don't get it. Like, how
right?
do you can't kill someone and
Where
then no
right,
one ever finds her. Right.
right.
So,
How do you do
um,
something like that without
and
being any evidence? Zero.
the posters of her missing all over, anytime you went by a telephone pole, there was a poster of Emily. And up in Uptown, which is what we call that main drag, that
Sure.
place where all the restaurants are that they visited that night, there was definitely a sense of fear of Matt, right? Who I didn't even know. It wasn't as if I would see Matt on the street and run the other way, but
Yeah.
Right.
there was a fear or a sense of there's a killer among us,
Yeah.
right? And that is truly how he was painted. And this is the part that I feel it's going to be really hard for me to talk about without crying. But so within the first 5 days of news coverage, we were convinced, my family of four, he did it. The husband did it. Where are they going to find her? How can they not find her body? What could he have done to her body? Blah, 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 blah. And it's Chris Watts is in our head at that time and all those horrible things. But within the first 5 or 6 days of the story was when they started talking about, I'm going to cry, Matt's son. And the fact that Matt lost his son to suicide. And so then the news made us believe that not only did Matt kill Emily, but he probably killed his son too. And that was horrible, because we went from thinking he was, maybe an abusive husband or maybe a jealous, out of control husband to, wow, this guy is dangerous. No one, which is such a dumb thing, especially for me with an educated brain, but no one could have two suicides, right? That's never going to happen.
I guess.
But it happens all the time. Suicide in a family begets suicide in a family. That's what happens, because the trauma is so difficult that people just check out.
It's amazing how people would make that assumption so quickly. I mean, and just imagine that they could do that to someone who's lost their kid, and then less than a year later he loses his wife, and they turn and they use that. And it's not the public, it's the cops, it's the establishment.
That was almost like a bad prior act for Matt. It was almost like they wanted to use that as evidence that he could have done it to Emily. It's like, oh my God, I just can't fathom that. But you can't
fathom it. Trust me, you can't. It's
No.
for authority to do that. I mean, I've been paying. I always pay my taxes. I pay my taxes, and if I knew I never would have paid my taxes, that they would stoop this low to close the case. It's all about closing the case.
Can I ask a question there?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just a bit. So obviously you spoke there about Joey, about the painting that he could have killed it. Like, not to go too far, did he know about Palmer, his other son? Did they drag him into it? No. So that's good to know that they didn't drag that in as well.
They
I just wanted to
did,
confirm
but
that.
it wasn't in the mainstream media. They didn't mention it, but in the podcast genre they did. I was a serial killer. I'm sitting in jail and I'm a serial killer. I'm sitting in jail and I would talk to people on the phone from jail, and they were like, they waited for that until after I got arrested. After I was arrested, it was just, they said whatever. I lost both my sons, and they used both of my sons as some sort of evidence that I was a serial killer.
That's the part that I'm most ashamed. That's the only word I can use. That's the part I'm most ashamed of.
It is shameful to think that the people that are in charge of things in Westerville would stoop so low. There's no evidence that I killed either one of my children, but there are the Vanish podcast, right?
Yes.
Amanda Coleman. It's still on their website. It's still up there saying that there's an active criminal case open against me and for my son Joey, and they're still looking into what happened to my child Palmer, which was in 1999. None of it's true. None of it.